to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing expert Robert O'Haver, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Search Talk Live. I am your host, Robert O'Haver, along with Matt Weber. Matt, how's it going?
It's doing fantastic. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm excited about the show.
I am, too. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm the president and CEO of Roar Internet Marketing. We're a digital agency just outside of Orlando, Florida. I'm also the inventor of Smilelytics, a new platform that helps translate your Google Analytics data into personalized photographs. And we're very excited about the progress Smilelytics has made. You can check it out at smilelytics.com.
Nice. All right. And I'm Robert O'Haver. Everybody knows me. But those of you listening to Search Talk Live for the first time, we are a digital marketing podcast listened to all over the world, literally, which is incredible. And I wanted to give a special shout out to the countries that are listening to us the most right now. I'm pulling that up right now. Let's see. Obviously the U.S., because we're based out of the U.S., but Thailand, Australia, United Kingdom, Canada, and Sweden, Ireland, Germany, Dutchland, India, all of you guys, I want to thank you for listening and supporting the show. That's a lot of people.
And you've got a big fan club in Liechtenstein. Didn't I see that? Did you have a Robert O'Haver fan club in Liechtenstein?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't even know where that is. Probably Germany, right? No. But we talk about everything here on the show. We try to give a flavor for everyone in the digital marketing stratosphere. We talk about conversion optimization, search engine optimization, content marketing, you name it, link building, you name it. We cover it. We try to cover it for everybody to help you make yourself better at what you do.
Yeah, and I think what's cool is we don't always focus on what's hot and what's the fad. I think we dig a little bit deeper, and I think that's what people really appreciate about the show.
Yeah, I do too, because there's a lot of people out there just don't understand or know how to do certain things, and we try to help them there. And the best thing about it is we stay totally white hat. We've had guest requests that, oh, I'm a black hat person, and I want to be on the show. We don't take any of that stuff because we don't want you as a listener to be hurt in any way. With a maybe a penalty or something like that. So we try to keep everybody on here as legitimate. We've had some amazing guests. I mean, the who's who of digital marketing on this show, and today is no exception. Our guest today is Dixon.
Hey.
How's it going,
How you
Dixon?
doing, Robert? Hi, Matt.
How you doing?
I'm sorry, of Majestic. You're the
I fell
director
off the
of
bottom
marketing.
of the big list then.
Sorry.
See how it is now.
We've had trying to connect here, but you're the marketing director at Majestic, correct?
Yeah, so my director in the UK is like CMO, I guess, really for you guys.
Okay.
And so I'm one of the guys at Majestic. I'm the face, I think, for most people. Half the world seems to think I completely own Majestic, and there's a guy called Alex who owns an awful lot more than me, But I try and put it on a good face about it.
Well, I hope that's one of those people is your banker that thinks you own Majestic.
Oh yeah, well we don't like to give too much information to the bank. No.
Now, you work for quite an amazing platform. I have to say, I'm a big user. You guys have won multiple awards.
Just won another one. I'm going to go and see the Queen again in July.
No way. Are you serious?
I'm serious. Yeah, absolutely. So we won an innovation. So last year we won a Queen's Award for innovation, and Alex and I got to go to Buckingham Palace, and we just found out the Queen's birthday was a couple of days ago, and we found out we won another one for international trade as well.
Wow!
So,
Congratulations!
Yeah,
that's quite incredible. So where you guys are in multiple? It's what you're set up for 12 different languages.
Yeah, so the platform's in 12 languages. We've got paying customers in 113 last time I looked. So, admittedly, things like Andorra, maybe one customer, although he's very vocal, so it's very good.
I think he's a listener, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So those that haven't heard about you, let's give us a little background on yourself, and then we would like to go into the platform and talk about that.
Yeah, of course. So my name's Dixon, and I actually left university and started running murder mystery evenings back in 1988, 89, and that turned into selling them via PDF files on the web around the turn of the century, 1999, something like that. I then set up a search consultancy for about 15 years. Or 10 years, and then that kind of overlapped a little bit because in 2009 I saw what Alex was building from his bedroom at the time with the Majestic platform, and you know what? I mean, you just sort of wake up and have a look at something, and it blows you away. So we got together over the next 6 months or so, and I thought I know everybody in the world that needs what you've just built, Alex. Yeah, that's how I became part of Majestic.
That's awesome. I'd have to agree with you. Everybody needs it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a few others out there, certainly, but I think we were certainly amongst the first. We're certainly amongst the biggest, and we're certainly amongst the most white hat as well. So we cover a lot of bases. But hopefully our journey's not yet wrong.
Yeah, one thing I'll have to say, like anytime I'm doing a migration of a site or a migration of a site, maybe changing it. Majestic's my go-to tool because you have the largest database of backlinks on any platform that I've seen.
Yeah, so I should probably explain to the listeners that don't know too much about Majestic.
Yes,
I mean, we
sorry.
just concentrate on the link data. So what we do is we're actually one of the biggest web crawlers on the planet. We crawl, according to Encapsula, more than Yandex or Baidu. I can't remember, about the same as Yandex and Baidu. It's a lot. But instead of looking at all the on-page content, we look at all the outbound links to from any website. We follow internal links to try and work out the metrics, but we report on basically inversing that information. So we report on all the inbound links into any website, and then get some meaning out of that as well. So we can understand from that a proxy for PageRank. We can understand how important every web page is, and it's not a score based on SEO rankings at all. But it is a score based on the quality of the page. So, sometimes people think, TrustFlow doesn't correlate with rankings. It was never supposed to correlate with rankings. PageRank correlated with rankings, but it really does correlate with quality. So it's a pretty powerful tool. And then there's a free option, and then it starts from about $50 a month for those that want to dive in.
I think a lot of people don't know what an accomplishment that is to do as much indexing as Majestic does, which is what.
There's a huge amount there that's innovative, I think, because what Alex did, and I don't take any credit for this, Matt, is he set up a distributed crawler. I'm really hoping that's not me going offline.
No.
No. Okay, good. He set up distributed crawling a long time ago, and so people around the world have for many years been crawling the internet from ISPs, from high bandwidth accounts, and helping us to build this thing. So we've managed to create a huge amount of scale, and it's just blinding. And then storing this data and being able to return it really fast on the system. There's some incredible stuff which I just can't praise the guys in development side enough for.
Yeah, I mean, just the scale. I mean, I've put in just thrown in different sites, and you've always got something indexed on it. So like, it's amazing.
I'd hope so. Yeah, I'd hope so. We're crawling. We've got a web page somewhere. We're crawling about 7 billion URLs a day, but that's just the ones that we've seen. I'm only counting those once every. Once every time we crawl them. We maintain in our fresh index anything that we've seen over a 90-day crawl cycle, which is around about 1 trillion URLs, and then we also keep a 5-year cycle as well. But that's that's kind of the number of pages, but the number of links, I have no way of working it out. There's just the data is so big that we don't report the number of links we've got in the system, but that's largely because we could only estimate it anyway because the data is just too big and moving too fast.
Yeah. one of the things that I found very valuable, I used to buy domains at auction. You know, I'd always do my background check on the domains before I purchased them because, you know, if there'd been a penalty or whatever, I didn't want to deal with them. Now, I would always use Majestic to go in and see the data, the history of the backlink. You know, did it shoot up?
Yeah.
You know, a couple of months before they sold the domain.
There's actually some stuff hopefully that we'll get out that'll help that a little bit because hopefully next week. But and I probably shouldn't talk about. I get told off for talking about things before we launch them in case they don't come out. But
go ahead.
One of the things that a lot of people have been doing is hiding their flow metrics behind 301s and that sort of thing, and so it becomes hard to see the important links. We'll surface a little bit of that. We'll hopefully deal with some of those 301 redirects and make that information a little bit more visible to the domainers or the domain buyers in the next week or so. But don't shoot me if it don't, because you know I'm not allowed to do that. We're in an agile world, you know.
I think you've answered one of the big questions I think people have is because you've done a lot of homework, Robert, and I know you use multiple tools.
Yeah, and
you run the backlink check on tool A, and you run it on tool B, and you run it on tool C, and you get different answers, and you're like, man, how does this vary? How can this possibly be different? And it's really because of the depth of the indexing, and Majestic just goes so much deeper.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, not to run the risk of sounding like a infomercial here.
Right.
Well, that's all right. You know, I'll send you beer. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm not being paid in any way right now. It's my go-to. I've used other platforms. I'm not going to name any names, but the most robust has been Majestic.
Yeah, and you've done side by sides.
Oh yeah,
right, yeah,
absolutely. No comparison.
Yeah.
So there's a few things as well. I mean, part of it is knowing how to use the tool, because one of the problems that we had with the domainers is that a lot of them were looking at comparing. The sellers were selling dub versions. Selling based on trust. So trust flow is almost a currency within the domain market, for quick evaluation of a domain name. But the www.yoursite.com is a subdomain of www.com of the root, of course. And the way that we do the metrics, it's really complicated. There's a really long blog post about it, but there's essentially all of the subdomain metrics are worked out in the vertical of subdomains. So therefore, all of the Blogspot subdomains are counted in the same category as www, and that means that there's an awful lot more subdomains on the internet than domains. So that means that www.realsite.com is much higher up the scale, so to speak, relatively speaking, than something.blogspot.com that was created by a robot. So therefore, it's easier to appear to have higher trust flow if you look at the www and compare that. So I would say if you're buying or selling domain names, always look at the root. You're buying the root domain anyway, so only to look at the root domain if that's what you're using Majestic for. And that's top tip for any domainers buying or selling. Well, obviously, if you're selling, then it's buyer beware.
Yeah. But I mean, I've definitely seen some crazy things. Like a month before they put it up for auction, like it would just shoot up like a rocket. It's just all they're doing is throwing links at it to raise the PR, the page rank.
Yeah, and they can hide some of that stuff, and that's but they do leave some imprints behind. So you do have to check the links and make sure they're not going to just disappear 2 days after you've bought it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you'll have other things too, which I think are great. Is you break it down in a topic trust flow, which is by category basically.
Yeah. So this is something that we came up with. I guess it must be 2 years old now, but it's still been really, really good, and it's turned up just at the right time for SEOs, I think, as the idea of getting topical links is turning into something good for marketers. I'm not specifically saying it's part of the Google algorithm. That's for other people to say yes or no. Right. What I am saying is that Nike does better getting links from football sites than it does from getting links from GoDaddy.com. So contextual links are helpful for from a marketing perspective, from a pure white hat perspective. And the topical trust flow really drills down, and we track around about 800 topics, so we can say how influential every web page is, not just overall for the trust flow overall, but how it is per topic. So if it's a news site, hopefully we can say whether it's a reputable news site or not a reputable news site, or a reputable news story or not a reputable news story, although people have been quick to point out places where I've got that wrong when talking about fake news. You can't get it right every time when you're dealing with trillions and trillions of URLs.
No, of course not. But I mean,
we do a pretty good job.
Yeah. And I mean, what's really helpful too for people that are doing link earning or building.
I like that word, link earning.
Yeah. That's why I wrote it.
Yeah.
No, you have that graph there that shows you the breakdown of the anchor text, and then referral domains, and the no follows and all that good stuff, and then even domains that once were there but are gone. You have you let people know that, hey, there's a
and that's deleted. So you've got the deleted links, and so if you wanted to, you can go back. So I remember. I don't know if you remember a big thing when JCPenney, this is a long time back, so nothing to do with JCPenney now, but JCPenney got done for and outed by Matt Cutts, I think, for some challenging issues that they had. Yeah. And they cleaned it all up and stuff. But of course, we've still got that information. We've got effectively an archive.org of links going back years and years. So you can't get that now in the very basic packages for new customers, but it's still cheaper cost of entry than any of our customers to be able to get the historical data, and that can be useful, especially if you've got penguin problems. So it's nice to be able to see the deleted links. It's nice to be able to see the patterns, and as you say, anchor text clouds and stuff. There's a lot of features in there, and they keep on going, but they really all revolve around being able to get that crawl right in the first place, or get it as good as possible in the first place, and then things are built from that.
Yeah, for us, it's really about using the tool to prioritize. You've only got a limited amount of time to do your earning backlinks, and you want to point your bullets at the best target possible. And Robert, I got to tell you, we were interviewing somebody this week, and their previous position, they came from a company that was doing, they called it link building, and the only tool they used was Google searches. They would do a Google query, for the relevant keyword, and they had a team of like 6 people that were doing this, and they'd create these massive lists of websites. And then they would try to find the appropriate contact person. They would send out their email solicitations and then track them on Excel. Hey, we got a response. We didn't get a response. And I thought, man, that is the least efficient system I have ever seen when it comes to earning backlinks. You guys are just shooting it at blanks here. You don't know whether that's a valuable link or not, because page where it ranks on Google may not be related to the value that it brings to you as a link.
So if you can scrape or get lots and lots of potential candidates into some kind of CSV file, one of the tools, and I'm sure I'm probably talking to the converted of YouTube, but one of the tools that's pretty cool is a bulk URL checker. So you can upload up to 100,000 URLs at any one time, and it will then bring back the topical information, the trust flow for all of those 100,000 in one process. So that should keep 6 guys going for a pretty long time. So if they're going to collect that data, and then it can prioritize. So then exactly, the absolute numbers of link counts if that's what you think is important, but the flow metrics really help to prioritize that. And so you're not shooting blanks. And I think that's important, because although you can get the results turning up in Google, they don't necessarily have any links on them. They might be appropriate for that particular contextual search result, but do they carry juice onto other places? Then that's a whole different thing. Exactly. And then do you guys know the Click Hunter tool, which is a word you don't want to say wrong on radio? So the Click Hunter tool is also cool, because you can take up to 10 web pages. So you could take the search results that come back from a Google search phrase, for example, and put them into Click Hunter, and it'll tell you all of the websites in the world that are linking to more than one of that set of 10. Now you're finding hubs of authority, and they're hubs of authority that already rank for a particular Google phrase. So now you're finding the real, hopefully the real influencers for that individual phrase. So that's a pretty powerful tool, and a lot of people use that, I think, when they're using Google and Majestic in hand.
Great tool, great tip.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. I don't know. I haven't known that one.
It's buried. I tell you what, at conferences, people come up and they say, "Oh, yeah, well, the thing is, I use this other tool because," and I just think, "Oh, we have not explained what's in here, what's in here."
You may have actually answered my next question, Dixon, which is, in your experience, what is the least appreciated or least used part of Majestic?
So the Click Hunter is pretty poorly used. But there's a lot of other things that are really underused. Did you know we're a search engine, for example? So instead of putting in a URL, you put in a search term. It'll show you the websites that would rank in a search engine if you were only using the flow metrics, the link data, and the titles and stuff. So if you put in a website, we will come back with effectively suggested link candidates for you based on the flow metrics. So people don't use that. It's in alpha, but it's pretty cool. And then another really. Yeah, go on.
I'm sorry. You put it in the Site Explorer bar?
Yeah. So you go in there, instead of putting in a domain or URL, if you go to majestic.com and look at the front page, it says enter a domain, URL, or search phrase. So you can actually you can enter a search phrase in there and get data back, and the data that comes back will show you why we're ranking one website above another. So it's kind of like Google with our underlying code, but it doesn't correlate to Google. So this is why we got it in alpha.
Gotcha.
If we could ever get it so that we felt it was a good search engine, we call it a search engine, but it's not that good. But it is good at showing websites that are good in the context of links, which is a pretty powerful tool. Another thing you can put in here is a Twitter profile. So if you start it with an @ and then put in a Twitter profile, it'll show you the flow metrics of their Twitter profile. So it can be used for finding influencers as well as anything. So the @ just converts it into the Twitter URL. So it's a bit of a cheat there, but it's a pretty useful tool that's underused to sit there and say, well, there's clout as a way of measuring something, but clout gets manipulated all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody manipulates flow metrics on a Twitter profile.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, it was Keith Good that said he on Clout that he was an expert in Doritos, and he showed the screenshot of him being an expert in Doritos. That was hilarious.
So if I put Keith Good in the system, they're going to find out. I should go and find out what it is. But hopefully we don't even have a topic of Doritos. We're not that clever.
Yeah, right.
Wow, that's awesome.
I think it was Keith. Was it Keith?
That sounds familiar.
I love Keith. Keith Good is absolutely brilliant, and he knows Majestic well as well. So whatever he says, it's right.
So that's amazing. I mean, that's really awesome that I didn't even know that you could do that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of other things there. I mean, just looking down I'm not even logged into the system because, as you know, I nearly didn't get on the call.
Save your bandwidth.
But another thing that's there is we've got a bunch of plugins that people, some of which we've built, some of which other people have built. So one of our plugins is one that goes into Firefox or Chrome and allows you sort of to see things on the fly, so you don't have to sort of go to Majestic to go and see any given web page. You can just see it as you go. And then from that, and part of that is our bucket list. So we have a thing next to everything. We've got this little cog, which no one seems to appreciate. And you hover over the cog. Every time you see a URL, just to the right of it will be a cog. And if you hover over it, you can dive into all sorts of new stuff and go anywhere with it, including adding things to a bucket. So you can sit there and look at 1,000 results and say, oh, I like that one, I like that one, I like that one, add to bucket, add to bucket, add to bucket. And then it all puts you in a big pile so you can then export all that information off to your contact team, those 6 people that are doing all the contacts and that sort of thing. Gotcha. And that's pretty good. We also were a bit disappointed so far, but we'll try and fix it, that not that many people, probably only about 15% of our paying customers have actually properly tried a campaign yet. So we now have campaigns set up, which I'd urge everybody that's got an account to go in and make sure they set up a campaign, because it just sort of tracks you and your competitors. So you put in, as many competitors as you want, really, and it starts tracking their information over time. And so then we're saving all your flow metrics and things over time. So you've got that information to fall back on. Because although we got the backlink history over time, we took a while to get the flow metrics and that sort of information. So you'll be able to then report back to your client or see what's happened, 2 years later and stuff. And we hope that, we'll build on campaigns in the future and they become an integral part of the system.
That's interesting. So you can then, with that tool, kind of draw a correlation between what you did and what the result was.
Yeah, well, you can at least sort of go back and see what happened. Yeah, so it's I'm sure different people are using different ways, but one of the things that you can do, I think on the Pro account or Gold account, you can also share the link to a third party. So if you've got a customer, you can share that link to them either in a password protected way or in an open way if you want to sort of just put it on Twitter, so that they can see the campaign. They can't play with the campaign, but they can see that data and stuff, so they can also use it as well. What else in there? I won't go through too many more because it's getting boring now. But the new links, email alerts is pretty good as well. So that'll just come into your inbox either every morning or every week or every month, depending on how you set it up. So you can see new links to whatever site you. I can't stop saying it now. I feel like I feel like I've gone way, way, way down the sales track. You just led me there, guys.
Well, I for people who on the show that may be just starting with Majestic for the first time, talk them through a little bit. What's the difference between search volume and keyword volume that they may find in other tools that they use?
Right. Okay. So. We don't look at traffic at all. So when we're looking at data, we're not telling you how much traffic is being generated by that sort of information. So that data is basically generated, or usually generated, not necessarily, but was usually generated by variations of the AdWords API. And when that got cut out, there's now some other pretty cool data which some other guys have got. We're not going to buy it because we're not entirely sure that the collection of the data is going to stand up to every legal jurisdiction. I'm not saying it doesn't, but but there's lots of different things out there that are trying to measure, how many people click on these kind of search results. But we don't do any rank checking, and this makes us very, very different. Firstly, it makes us cheaper than the competition because we don't have to build a rank checker. We don't have to scrape Google, and we strategically very much didn't do that. And the reason we didn't do that is because you talk about at the start, everything's white hat. Well, one of the problems is rank checking using a computer is against Google's terms of service. So where does the gray start, really? So we decided that the gray started there. So we weren't going to build a technology which would eventually, we could make this so good that that Microsoft or IBM want to come and take it and put it into Dr. Watson or whatever, and then they go to due diligence and they find that we're taking our data out of Google and Google owns the data, right. And all of a sudden there's a fundamental problem in the business model. So keyword data is really useful, or keyword volumes is really useful, but it's not something we provide. We do provide anchor text information about how that data is there, and we do have some keyword information just based on data imported that we have, but for us it's all about the anchor text and the links, and then the amount of oomph, and I'm going to use the word oomph even though SEOs will hate me for it, that go into those pages, which really affects how much power each link generates in the terms of overall rank or oomph.
I like the word oomph. I think you guys can own that. I think you can create the world's first oomph metric, right? What's your oomph metric? How much oomph does a particular backlink provide?
I was in a marketing meeting today, and everyone was trying to talk about what kind of mascot should we have, and team our tone much more human, and I've pitched Majestic as a business tool, and I've not put a lot of humor into the whole thing, and the guys wanted. So maybe I should just change the whole marketing to oomph engine now. That's probably worth talking.
Oh, I have to back up here. It was Casey McGee that actually was the expert in Doritos. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Sorry, Keith.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to have to go for a break soon, aren't you? I don't want to do your job for you, Robert. But,
yeah.
You did warn me.
It is time. We do need to take a break. Hold on just a second.
Find the true value of your home when you log on. HomeValue.com.
Search Talk Live is sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. Check out robertpalmercompanies.com for more information.
All right, we're back. Those of you just tuning in, we're talking with Dixon Jones of Majestic. We're talking about the platform and what its capabilities are.
And got some new tips, got some things that it does that we didn't know that it does.
Yeah.
I really like its ability to find influencers by putting in a Twitter handle in the search bar rather than just a domain. I have to tell you, I don't know that I've ever used Majestic and not put a domain in that search bar.
If you want to get really weird, go to labs.majestic.com one day and see what's being played around there. We every year we get this is kind of moving away from anything production side, but it makes for better stories. So every year we sponsor a few hackathons, with students, spending weekends making stuff, and we give them the API and say, look, try and build this into something interesting and stuff. And we pull out the best of those, and they're our interns for the year or for the summer or whatever it may be. Last couple of years we've done that, and we've just given them. The ones that were summer students, we kind of just gave them the API, and we didn't tell them what Majestic does. We just said make stuff, and they came out some really weird stuff that we put up on labs.majestic.com to play with. You don't need any login or anything for most of it, unless it's going to start pulling on our servers. But comes up with some pretty cool ideas, and one of them is a top 10. Twitter profile for for the top 50,000 Twitter profiles put down by topic, so you can see the top 10 most influential tennis players, the top 10 most influential people in the auto industry, or whatever it may be. And unfortunately, it's only a demo, so it's only working on some static data that's now 2 years old. But as a concept, I think it's great. Whether we can ever get it into production, I don't know. But it's a nice idea.
I really like this. I guess it's JavaScript. You can play around with it, and it shows you the link tree, basically.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you're playing on that. Yeah. So that's another one there, and So it's kind of they've been trying to work on different ways of visualizing information and data, and some of that kind of stuff then comes back into the main business. But we also get to see which guys are going to love it working at Majestic as well. So we're a pretty weird kind of business. We're not everybody's cup of tea, and if you're not really passionate about your programming, it's probably not for those developers, because you're going to get thrown in, even in your work placement, into some pretty hardcore technologies. And,
So what do you think the future of Majestic is? Where do you see the business going?
Well, I'm not going to answer that, but our long-term vision for the business, our original vision for the business, was to try and develop a search engine, and we got this far. We got the linked data sets and information all coming back, and we found that there was a really good, rich market there for that information. So we haven't given up on that as an end game, but I think that for now we're happy trying to develop along being a specialist. So we like the fact that we're just in the link space. It's kind of, we do get some people come in and try. You can sign up for a sort of a free demo, and someone will go through 30 minutes sort of showing you all the stuff and things. And we do get a few people that go through that and say, but it doesn't do rank checking, or it doesn't have the things that some of the other sort of all-purpose tools have. And that's okay. That's not for them. I think hardcore SEOs use Majestic. They use it for a good price. But if we started bolting on too many of these other bits and pieces, some of those have a real cost associated with them, especially rank checking. Rank checking at scale has a big cost, both in terms of getting the data, storing the data, but also in terms of risk to the business, because it probably only takes one serious letter from Google's lawyers, and you've got a problem on your hands. So so we're happy to be where we are. We're happy to develop products around what we've got. We've just put out a survey that we're starting to try and get some feedback from our insiders, so to speak, on what people want to develop next. And so we're going to try and move more towards doing what the customer wants next instead of what we think is cool, which will be a real change for us. I think we're moving in the right direction. Listen to the customer for a change. So if we can do that in 2017, I'll call that a success.
And you're right on. I've seen a lot of platforms where they try to be the Swiss Army knife of everything, and trying to offer a tool for everything's needed, and where if you focus on and get really good at one thing, it tends to be better, because I would say the data I've seen is most SEOs in the industry, they use multiple tools. They don't just use Majestic. They use Moz, or they'll use Raven tools, whatever it might be. But it's not just a one tool thing. Each, like Majestic's really good at backlinks and stuff like that. Moz, they're good at other things. It's just
I think we have what we can then do, having made that decision, which has its drawbacks, don't get me wrong, because all of a sudden, you've got to know a little bit more before you realize that Majestic is the one for you, or maybe it's not the one for you. But so we maybe have a slightly narrower target base, sure. But that's it's big enough when you go to 113 countries. So but what we can do then is we can also have premium partners like Raven, like some of the big enterprise tools, and some of the not so big ones in terms of price as well, that can then take our data at the API level. And as you say, it's pretty robust. We've got the most robust API in the industry. So if somebody is really good at rank checking, so for example, SEO Clarity. Someone mentioned Keith Good, and he used to be there. They take our data and put it in, and then they do, the other things, the rank checkings and the keyword analysis and stuff like that. Right. So they can then take our best of breed data and still build some pretty impressive stuff on the top of that. Yeah. And then more recently, I think, with things like Tableau and the modern dashboards and stuff, then we've also got a protocol for that as well. So more and more technologies are coming to us and saying, hey, look, we don't actually want an account with Majestic, but we want our customers to be able to put their Majestic data into their dashboard. It's kind
of white labeling the data, right?
Well, they're not so much white labeling data. It's kind of trying to blending at the far end. So we've got another plugin, for example, that allows you to put things into Google Sheets. So you can have a Google Sheet that might have our data, and then it might have Moz's data in the next column, and then it might have the ranking last time you checked it or something like that. I don't know. So you could then mix and match other different data sources, pretty much without the need for a massive technology, because of these new technologies that are really allowing APIs to get connected and data to then get connected up. So another one is Neil Bosma's Excel tools, SEO for Excel, which is a downloadable plugin for Excel that allows data to be brought straight into Excel.
How does Majestic differentiate between purposely duplicated content that's out there, somebody's created duplicated content to build their own backlinks to their page? How does it distinguish?
So I could answer that question in two different ways. We will choose, if you've got duplicate content on two different URLs, then we will report both of those URLs. But what will happen is that the flow metrics will be entirely different to the two different URLs. So the strength of a piece of content for us is not about the content itself. It's about what the rest of the web says about that content. So we track where all those links are coming into and who's linking to that content, and then who's linking to the content that links to that content. So if page A links to page B, links to page C, links to page D on the internet, then the information from page E, some of that information gets all the way through to page D and beyond. So we have many iterations. And so what happens is we end up with two metrics. The first one is citation flow, which is based really on a starting point of every single web page on the internet has this number of IPs linking into it. So we've got an absolute number for every page on the internet. And then we propagate that information over many iterations. And that gives us a number which we then turn into 0 to 100. Then we have trust flow, which kind of does the same thing, but it ignores pages that we don't know at the start of the process that we don't know were built by human beings. So in a random world, trust flow would be the same as citation flow as links build. Okay. In truth, it doesn't happen because many links are generated by computers and are not real. And that includes, footers on WordPress documents and menu bars and stuff like that. But it especially includes the ones that you were talking about there, which are, spammy duplicate content, thin layer content that takes all the data, churns it up and puts it out in a different order in a different place. That stuff doesn't get real websites and real people linking to them. And so they then are usually standing on stilts of one or two good links that are going, trying to feed this whole PBN, private backlink network, and it'll come crashing down. So the quality of those private backlink networks varies dramatically. Some are very, very good, I'm sure. If you happen to be the owner of the Daily Mail or you happen to be Robert Murdoch, you've got one of the biggest backlink networks in history, and it's probably pretty good. If you happen to be, down in the trenches and you've been dealing with Blogspot subdomains, it's probably not so good. So what will happen in those situations is that citation flow may or may not grow, but trust flow won't. So it's the difference between those numbers really for me is the biggest sign of spam.
Right.
Yeah.
So is it true that Google's using your index? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But there was an NDA on that.
Oh, sorry.
That's a joke. They don't use our information at all. And Gary Elias, if you're listening, I absolutely... No,
Google on line one for Robert. Google on line one for Robert.
I think if they did, they just buy us and shelve us and not tell anybody. So we'd probably disappear fairly quickly. Hopefully for a lot of money.
Right. Google just acquired.
But you had some news that you shared with us earlier today that I did not know about.
Oh, yeah.
It's not my news. No, I just saw it on SEO Roundtable and on TechCrunch. That one of I'll let everyone go and find it. One of the large tools has filed for bankruptcy protection in the US. I don't know anything about the story, so I'd rather not talk about it on the air too much. But so one of the tools did that today. So people can go and find out about it. But I don't think it's my place to comment on it. But it's definitely the news of the day from my point of view.
Shout out to Barry Schwartz for all his amazing reporting.
Never miss a tweet of his.
It was 18 hours later than the TechCrunch one, by the way. So
What was that?
He was 18 hours later than the TechCrunch one. So
oh, okay.
8 hours later, anyway. So
sounds like an eternity today, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I'd like to get. I mean, you've got a lot of SEO background. I'd like to get your take on how you see, particularly Penguin or whatever iteration it may be in 5-10 years. But do you see links going away as a possible?
Well, okay. I don't want to sort of like try and pretend that I've got a job forever because the world changes pretty quickly. I think that there's a few things. I mean, what is happening is that there are more and more signals coming on board.
Yeah.
So that gives Google, for example, Google more information. But also, interestingly, I think Facebook has a very different way of dealing with it. I mean, you probably, if you thought about it, probably do quite a lot of searching on Facebook now, but just for different kinds of things. If you want to go and find, the best restaurant in New York, you used to go to Google, but you know what? It's pretty good going and asking your friends on Facebook as well. Mm-hmm. So people do that. So, and Facebook doesn't use links. It's all contextual. So there are dangers for a link only tool. That said, Yandex did try and drop links from their metrics, and they had to bring them back because the metrics just went to pot. If you happen to be in Russia, they kind of started losing market share quite quickly for the first time against Google, I think. And I have spoken to Googlers, or Googlers have said, well, there's quite a few quotes. I've got a PowerPoint presentation where I get quotes from people in Google that pretty much say links are still here and very, very solid. So so in fact, Kemper from Link Research Tools found something that Gary Illies said and put it on a T-shirt, which I wear on a regular basis now, saying ranking without links is very, very hard. So I think it's going to take a long time for the signal to disappear. However, I think if we're good at what we do as marketers, links will never disappear as a good signal, because if you look at links another way, there's only two ways to get to a website. One is to type in yourdomain.com into a bar, a search bar of some discrete at the top of your browser. And you know what? A lot of people don't even have that in their browser anymore. They've just got a Google box or whatever. So it's either that or you click on a link. So the only way you get to a website is to click on a link. Yeah. So it will still be important, even if it wasn't used for rankings at all, because it's the only don't want to swear too much, but it's the only damn way that you can get to a website. You've got to click on a link. Now, whether we can follow it through a crawler is another matter. But yeah, are links important? They're the only thing that makes the world of the internet work.
Yeah, I agree. And I think Robert was on to a really interesting perspective here, is that when we look at the future, you see a lot more recommendations and sharing happening behind membership areas. If you look at whether it's Facebook or an app like Nextdoor, where people are going to look for a restaurant or look for their veterinarian, and those are places that crawlers can't get to.
Yeah, and that is interesting. What's building up in the world of big data is, Google's trying to own its part of this pie, Facebook's trying to own its. We're trying to own our bit of our little slice of the internet, of our big data internet, by owning the link graph. So we're all trying to own our bit, and then hopefully sell that data through APIs or AdWords or whatever model you're going to have, or software as a service, to not necessarily the highest bidder, but to people. We're all in it for business. And I think but there's so many more exciting things as well. Internet of Things. There's not. How's that going to affect everything? There's so many good things. One thing that I do think has been overplayed is AMP. I think AMP in search engine rankings, I think was kind of the flats, the damp squid of 2016 and 17. For me anyway, I think that I haven't seen. I don't see AMP as taking over the world in the same way that Google want us to.
We had that conversation with one of our previous guests, and we were talking about, was AMP one of the most overrated search trends of recent history, and she took the position that said you'd have to say yes today, but she felt strongly tomorrow that AMP was going to be a huge ranking factor.
Well, I think it could be. I think it's going to. So here's where I think it's going to go wrong, and I think it's a strategic error that Google has made before. They've made it before with the no-follow command. So Google and Bing and Yahoo at the time, I'm old, got together and they said, we're going to have this new thing called nofollow, and you can use it to try and tell the world that this link doesn't really count to the rest of the world, and make everything the whole world a better place. The problem is that only told people about effectively false positives or false negatives, depending on which way you looked at it, because and it only did it for the people that actually built things with no follows in them, which was a tiny percentage of the world who didn't all care, because Google on one hand is saying just build your website as you want to build your website for your people, not for the search engines. And then there's a whole other industry that says, oh, no follow, we'll build this to try and help something. But the number of people that actually actively engaged in that were not enough to make realistic result changes. And so I think that no follow lost its significance. And I think AMP is the same way, because for the best will in the world, the best content is the best content, whether it was built in AMP or not.
Right.
So unless Google gets everybody building in AMP, then it shouldn't really be an excessively positive signal. It can stop you having negative signals. You know, speed is important on the internet. I get that. But ultimately, I can't see it becoming the SEO.
Let's take that thought that good content is good content. Let's say that there was a day when all the results on a Google search engine results page were uniform. We knew what they looked like. But today, we're experiencing the knowledge box. We're experiencing voice results that are different than what's on the SERP that you get. Do you see a day when different links drive different value to determine the placement of the different types of content that will be on a SERP?
Okay, I don't know if I quite understand the question, but I would argue they do now.
Let's say that link A, we've got link A, and link A brings more value in getting your content as a result in a voice search or in a knowledge box. But it doesn't drive value when it comes to organically ranking on the page. But link B drives substantive value in getting organic rank on the page, but brings you no value when you're trying to be when you're trying to have an answer in the knowledge box.
Well, yeah, because I think that does already happen, although I'm going to go and choose quite a nuanced example, I suppose. But I think that Google will allow any website to rank for its brand, or try and allow it to rank for its brand. So if you want to rank for, cheap flights, you're going to have a big advantage if you're cheapflights.com and you built your whole business around cheap flights. You may not get to number one, but you're going to have a big advantage. And so you're much more likely to get into the knowledge box if Google can associate your brand with a particular keyword. So I think that's number one, and that doesn't necessarily all get done, by a pure link. It gets done by mentions and that sort of thing as well. And whether you've got a Wikipedia page and that sort of thing, all really help to get that knowledge box to come up. But it's only going to come up for quite specific stuff. And I know that somebody like WebMD is going to say, I've got 2,000 knowledge boxes for different search terms, and prove me wrong. But I still think that's the general rule, is that Google will say, most websites really have, yes, maybe some contextual keywords that they should rank for, but ultimately, your brand is really, really key.
Sure.
And so what you want to do is be that number one for voice search. Really, if you think about the voice search, that really to me is to be really thought about hard, because it doesn't matter if you're number one for pizzas if on Siri everybody is typing in or is saying ring Domino's. So the brand has to become associated with the product to really work well on Google search, or on knowledge box search and voice search and stuff. And that number one result becomes important, and branding then becomes super important. And that also dissects the web into 300 million different brands, which is that's 300 million different keywords, because every website can only be really good at one or two or three things.
Yeah, Dixon, we're running out of time, but I want to mention Alan Blaywise says, oh my God, Dixon Jones just said Majestic has a browser plugin. I had no idea. I tried it. It's awesome. Said that on Twitter.
Okay, then he's got a paid account, because if you look at the reviews on the Google plugin, everyone says it's crap, it's crap, it's crap, it's crap, it's crap. And so unfortunately, I don't know. I think I probably upset somebody, and we did have a bit of a problem for it. So do download it and try it, especially if you've got an account on Majestic. Even if you don't, there's some free data as well. But it does if you've got an account, and it saves an awful lot of time. And then,
Great.
Yeah.
Well,
You,
Dixon,
Alan?
we want you to participate in a segment here we call Believe It or Leave It. And we're going to introduce you to 3 things that we found on the internet. And nothing on the internet can't be wrong. And we want you to tell the audience whether they should believe it or whether they should leave it. Are you ready?
I'll take the first one.
All right. Robert, over to you.
Within a year, the top-level domain .school will rival .edu for link impact.
Leave it.
Are you sure? No, I'm kidding.
Those TLDs are just not catching on, these new TLDs.
Not because I think that edu is especially better, but because the links to .schools are going to be worse.
Yeah.
Great.
Good
All right.
point.
Here's number 2. You ready?
Yep.
Google Plus content will continue to have valuable backlink value despite the platform's demise. Believe it or leave it?
I think that Google's content stuff is all about identifying the user of the browser, and I think it's about little else really. So it's trying to make sure that you don't spam Google. So I'm going to say leave it.
Leave it.
Okay. Right. And the last one. Facebook and Google will reach a deal this year, enabling Google to measure which backlinks from, is it Facebook?
Facebook.
Okay. High engagement and which do not.
I'm going to have to say leave that. I hope that that's a leave that, because I think that these two companies need to fight each other because competition is good, and since Facebook is the closest competitor I can find to Google, I'm going to say let's leave that.
Well, that would be a game changer, though.
Yeah, and not good for us.
So has Facebook passed Bing yet? No, I'm kidding. All right. I'm sorry, Dixon. I really appreciate you being on the show. It's been awesome. We had a little technical difficulty before the show, but I'm glad we got it worked out.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe we can have you back sometime. We'd love to have you. There's so much we could talk about.
Cool.
We're definitely.
If you do, try not to let me talk about Majestic so much, would you?
No, it'll be on a different topic.
Yeah, and I think Dixon wins the award for raising our blood pressure the most right before a show. Right?
I got to keep you on your toes, guys.
That's right.
I tell you what, though, those Macs, they're really bad. The new Macs, they're rubbish on Skype.
Yeah, so if people want to reach you, they can reach you on Twitter. Where?
At Dixon_Jones, or you can go to @Majestic as well.
Okay, and the website for Majestic is
Majestic.com.
All right, great. Thank you so much for your time and being on the show.
And will you say hello to the Queen for us?
Yes.
I will, if she talks to me this time.
I think she's a listener, actually. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, Dixon.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it's been another great episode of Search Talk Live. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. And again, thank you for the people in Australia, UK, United States, all over that listen to the show and support it. Please share it. If you listen to the show on Spreaker, hit the little like button. And, if you have questions, you can put them under the show comments, and I'll make sure Dixon answers them, or unless you'd like us to. Go to searchtalklive.com. Sign up for the newsletter so you can get the latest and greatest that's going on with the show. I try to update the show, the list weekly. I've got some great people. We've got Google coming on, not Google themselves, but Gary Ilias of Google. He's the Webmaster Trends Analyst. He's coming in July. We've got, let's see, who do we have next week?
That's going to be a great show, by the way.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. And then
I think that's one of the least utilized tools for the average SEO.
Yeah. And thanks to Michelle, too, for live tweeting the show. Next week, we have Kevin Richard from SEO Observer, or SE Observer. And then, let's see, we have Stephen Spencer back, which is another good one.
Yeah, he was a great show last time.
Yeah. Those of you who don't know who Stephen Spencer is, he's one of the co-creators of The Art of SEO, which is an amazing book. It's probably I would say the Bible of SEO for SEO people, along with a few others. But then we have Jeremy Allen. We're going to talk programmatic advertising, which is a lot of people don't know about programmatic advertising, but it's not your average AdWords.
Right, yes, yeah.
It's a lot more detailed. Let's see, what else? Something you wanted to add?
No, I think programmatic advertising is going to be a great bet for people who are in AdWords right now, enjoying it, and want to get to the next level.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the future.
Yeah.
I really do. Also, follow us on Twitter, at Search Talk Live. If they want to reach you on Twitter,
They can reach me at Best Web Design FL.
okay. And I'm at Robert O'Haver on Twitter. And you can also go to, let's see, we're also on Facebook under Search Talk Live. You can find us there. And tune in next week, guys. Had a great time. Hope you learned something. I got a lot of good information from some good tools that he mentioned. Thanks a lot, and thanks for your support.
Have a great week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Find the true value of your home when you log on. Homevalue.com.
Search Talk Live is sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. Check out robertpalmercompanies.com for more information.